Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is George Smith, and I am bringing you some of the final round action here for the Raceface GT4 Season 1 finals, really, at Spa. And joining me in the comms box, as per the last couple of weeks, has been my good old friend Ryan Gill, all the way from the UK. So, Ryan, once again, a warm welcome. Thank you for joining me, and couldn't have done it without you. And coming into the final round, good to have you back.
Oh, it's always nice to be here, George. You don't have to be so kind. And well, look at the situation we have here. A championship battle coming into the last round of the season. Jordan Sherratt does still have the chance to win the championship here tonight, George, doesn't he? But it's not going to be easy by the permutations you were running past me a bit earlier today.
Absolutely not. I mean, it's Morgan McCall's really to run away with. And as we've gone into qualifying here, it doesn't seem like we see a Morgan McCall joining us in the server just yet. So, as you can see on the left timing totem, 10 drivers in the lobby at the moment, which is a little bit short of what we were expecting. And of course, Morgan McCall not being in that listing, seeing him in the practice server, is a little bit concerning for sure. And if he doesn't make it through here, then Jordan Sherratt does get pole and does win the race, then the championship becomes his. You know, if McCall finishes outside the top 3 and Sherratt then gets that pole position, it's a 2 bonus point victory for getting a pole. And then winning the race, of course, will then put him right up in the order. So, yeah, a bit of a strange situation, not seeing Morgan here in the qualifying session just yet.
Yeah, it is a bit concerning, isn't it? Especially, I mean, you know, last week we unfortunately had, you know, some low numbers at Monza due to some power outages around South Africa. But as far as you've informed me here tonight, George, that's not really the case this week. So yeah, it's been interesting. Quite a few names missing from the timing sheet, but I'm sure as qualifying goes on, we will probably see more people come in. Some people maybe just being a bit late, but as you said, so important for Jordan Sherratt to take pole position if McCall is going to be attending tonight, because essentially, you know, like you said, if he doesn't get that pole position, it's effectively gone.
Yeah, he needs to ensure that he capitalizes on every point that he can get, and of course, qualifying here has already begun. So like you mentioned, drivers not quite being here is a little bit alarming, as Spa is definitely one of the longer circuits in the calendar, so getting a good lap in is a little bit harder. And of course, you've got that long pit lane to deal with if you can't get that lap in. So we see Charles Wilkin crossing the line to get us a good opening lap out, a 2:31.089 for Wilkin, followed up by Mark Antel with a 2:32.238. So 1.1 seconds off the pace from Wilkin. But, you know, these are all those outlaps that we've talked about in the GT4s. Takes a little bit of time for things to heat up. Takes a little bit of time for the tires to really get up to that optimum working temperature. So don't expect these times to be the only times. They should fall as the time goes on. I do see that we've found an 11th driver joining us here. It's still not the likes of McCall, so maybe a couple more gonna filter through before the end of quali, Ryan.
You definitely hope so, wouldn't you? Especially considering the size of the track we have here tonight. Of course, Spa, the longest track on the calendar, the longest track in ACC. And, you know, it's going to be a bit lonely out there, to be honest, if we're only going to have 11 cars on track for the race. But I've said it before, it only takes 2 cars to make a race. And whilst that is true, I am hoping we will get a few more people coming in at the moment. But Charles Wilkin has set the first lap of the qualifying session so far. It's, well, the fastest lap, sorry, not the first lap. And it's a 2:31.0, so almost breaking into the 30s. And of course, we have Darren Peens, Mark Antel, Johannes Grayling, and Stephen Tablanche following out the top 5. And one of the things I'm starting to see here as I'm actually watching Jordan Sherratt just for a moment, he hasn't, well, he didn't set a valid lap on his first time round. So he did invalidate his lap. And it was slow, actually, as well. It was a 2:40. So Jordan Sherratt, he is the man that needs to get pole position ideally here today. He is on a lap at the moment, and he is going very, very quick. And we should be seeing him cross the line within the next minute as he comes down towards Campus and Stavelot now.
Indeed, good eyes to spot out that Sherritt, of course, not managing to get his first banker lap in there. And we see him running wide in a couple of places. You know, the track limits are not really too forgiving here at Spa, and you can quite quickly find yourself in a position where you've done a full lap and just a couple of tire lengths outside of those boundary lines, and you're going to have to go around and do it again. So for now, Sherritt trying to get one of those laps in. Like we've mentioned, he needs pole position and a race win. So if he just gets the race win, doesn't get pole position, that's not going to be enough. But that all changes up with Morgan not here in the qualifying just yet. So a little bit of a late show up potentially going to come out from our race champion. Maybe he's doing some pre-race interviews elsewhere. But 13 drivers have now entered into our qualifying session with 11 minutes to go. I mean, if you are joining late, it's time to get the car off the jacks, get out and make sure that you can get a lap in. It really is getting down to crunch time to be able to get competitive. And Jordan will get that pole time, does crack down into those 29s. The 2:29.844 going to come out. So going to find himself pole for now, 1.1 seconds ahead of the likes of Wilkin, who's still sitting in the pits, not out on circuit at the moment. And Piens in third, also not out on circuit, trying to set a time. So Jordan going to be ditching out at the end of the Kemmel run and going to go and just sit back in the pit box and see if anyone's going to answer back. A man that is trying to do so is Mark Ansell. Both his rivals in front of him on the grid at the moment potentially could lose out their positions. And there we see it. The little bit of lag coming down means that Morgan McCall has entered the server, and it also means that he's entered the server with his custom livery from ATK. There, of course, we get a little view of our championship leader sitting in the pit box. Mark Ansell still out on track, still dead on even with his previous time, that 2:32.238. So he's trying to nudge his way up past Piens. Grayling going to jump himself up into third place from Retro Sim Slipstream, a team, of course, that has been very dominant in just a show on track with a sheer number of cars. The Retro Sim teams definitely are out there to show that they've got the numbers to rival others. And Johannes Grayling looking to have a good result in his BMW. And maybe Spa, Ryan, will be the circuit for the GT4 M4. It hasn't had a place that it feels excited, and maybe Spa is going to be its number.
Well, George, you know exactly what I'm going to say, because we've had this exact conversation in a GT4 championship at RCI. And, the BMW, and I'm sure a few people are probably sick of me mentioning it by now, but this car is, to me at least, it's such a disappointment. Because I've watched the GT4 championship. I went to the British GT race last year at Donington Park. Got to see the GT4s, got to see the M4 especially. And, the M4 in some of the real series, in fact, if anyone's been following the 2020 GT4 championship, you'll know that the M4 has been doing very well. But it just seems like in ACC, maybe it's the BOP, or maybe it's just that, I don't know, maybe it is a driver thing, that, it takes someone special to get the most out of that car. But everything I've seen from this car so far since it's come out is, if it's at Monza and Bathurst, it's exciting. If it's not, it's disappointing.
I mean, it's I kind of led on to that. I know that we have been able to have a little spot out at it in the previous championships that we've been able to broadcast together. But for the first time, maybe it's a smaller grid or whatnot. But we do see a couple of the Beamers up towards the front of the pack here. I mean, it's only Van Kala down in 8th place, not joining his homies up towards the front of the order. Of course, the likes of Quade Claassens down to Junior McCall, still yet to set a lap time that is going to get them into a quali slot. So as that time ticks down, we're going to see them jumping out and going to set themselves a valid lap. The likes of Jordan Sherritt again out on track. He sees that his championship rival Morgan McCall is here, and he wants to make sure that he's not going to have a last minute pole snatched out from under him. He needs that in that championship fight, of course. And I think we're going to mention that a lot because that's really the story up towards the front that we wanna watch. We've seen Sherritt's pace. We've seen that he's got the ability of the stability of his connection is there, and all goes well on the track. It really is his race to lose at times. So for him, it's a victory that he really needs. He needs that pole, and he needs those extra points as well. So as our drivers continue to get themselves out on the circuit, it looks like to Blanche Ryan in the Aston Martin, the second sitting Aston after Charles Wilkin, will be up on his time. 3/10 up at the minute, but 3.5 seconds off of what Sherritt set. So definitely a little bit out of the pace sitting, but at this point, it's 4/10 of 4/10.
It is, and you take everything you can get, especially around a track here like Spa, but he seems to have lost it through Pouhon a bit. He's now down to, well, he's broken even actually. He's not actually up on his time. Actually, no, he is up on his time by 1/10, sorry. So, yeah, he's lost a bit of time through Pouhon, and, this is the thing about Spa. There's so many parts of the track around here that you can lose or gain so much time, especially the bus stop chicane, the slowest corner on the track. And, that's where you see so many people gain a lot of time, but you can easily lose it in these fast sectors as well. And to Blanche now making his way up towards Blanchimont. And we're currently looking at the second place car. This is the car of Charles Wilkin, of course, number 25. He's coming up towards the bus stop chicane at the moment. And looks to get his brakes nice there, riding the inside of the first part of the corner, and then, of course, not touching the inside curb on the second part of the bus stop chicane. He'll go up towards the timing line. He will improve on his time. He'll go 3/10 up on his previous best. Stephen Blanche will also cross the line. He'll go a 10th up on his previous time, but still plenty to be gained from both the Aston Martins around here.
Wilkin doing a good job there to find an extra 10th coming out through bus stop, like he said, just really mustering the car over the curbs and making use of what those GT4s can do. So Wilkin here trying to edge a little bit into Sherritt's gap that he's got, and he did a good job to break into that second split, but 8/10 to find he's not quite up on his time at the exit of Kemmel. And for him, that is, a place that he could potentially find some time. We saw him finding a lot through the third sector too. So will Charles Wilkin be able to stick it up to Sherritt? 4 minutes remain on the clock for us to find out. And the likes of Morgan McCall out on the service, still not yet to set that valid lap. I think this could be the lap that we need to see at the moment. So if Morgan McCall can't get this in, can't get a time down, we'll start towards the back of the order, and that will play into Sherritt's hands for that championship battle. So McCall needs to finish anywhere on the podium, as far as I know, with Sherritt not winning, or with Sherritt winning the race even, and he will take that championship fight. So McCall here looking to get a good solid quali in, and then I think just keep a steady pace out on track. For him, it's about keeping up in that top three, and if not getting there in quali, just making his way through the order, getting there. So as he comes down through Blanchimont, we'll see what Morgan can post out on the leaderboard time split. Just a shout out to our viewers as well that are all joining us here this evening. Good to see you guys all here. Good to see the chat. We'll attend to you guys during the course as we get to the end of quali. McCall going to cross the line, and he is going to get himself up to third with a 231.092. So going to snatch out a little position over Grayling, nudge everybody down one spot, and this is just what Morgan McCall needs towards the end of quali run.
Yeah, it definitely is, and like you said, he's got himself into that magic top 3 spot that he needs to be, regardless if Jordan Sherritt gets pole position and the win here tonight. But of course, qualifying in the top 3 is only, well, it's not even half the battle, is it? Because of course, we say qualifying, it can mean a lot or it can mean absolutely nothing. For Jordan Sherritt, qualifying means the world right now, because it's, the deciding factor whether he's going to have a championship battle in the next 3 minutes. But of course, Morgan McCall, he's just doing exactly what he needs to do. Put that car into the top 3, give himself a good starting position. Then, of course, in the race, just keep it clean. But, importantly, he has to stay in that top 3. And that's not going to be easy because, of course, mistakes can play a massive part here at Spa. It's a circuit which, longer circuits, way more keen to see mistakes at tracks like this. And it's going to be interesting because I think there's that bit of added pressure of the fact he has to get to top 3. If he gets anything less, it's not going to be good enough, and that does add a little bit of pressure here tonight.
It's just pressure all around for the front of the order in the championship fights, and I think that's really what you want to see coming into a sim racing championship battle at the end of the day. Like, you don't need someone to just run away with things. I think Morgan did have that for a good portion of this championship. I mean, he's been really dominant coming through, but having Jordan and Charles up there to make things a little bit more difficult as well. Those are all the stories that we want to see. Pierce here, 6/10 up on his time, currently in 8th place, will better himself up into 6th with a 231.617 towards the closing stages of quali. Like I mentioned to our chat, just a shout out to all you guys out there. Vego, ZA, Shani, Snow Villain, Yuri, Absmeyer, Brian Lewis. We see you guys all there. Thank you for joining us, and don't feel ashamed to like and subscribe to Raceface if you enjoy the content that comes out. And we appreciate you guys. If you've got any questions, throw them out. Yuri asking what happened to Jason Absmeyer in the Raceface Championships. I think, Yuri, that's something that you'd have to ask Jason yourself. Some difficult situations, I think some power issues along the way, and just not really working out there. So, bit of a sad moment for me, myself as a broadcaster. Of course, I would like to call myself, I would like to say almost the coach now of White Rabbit Gaming, as I no longer really get to drive, but I don't do much coaching either. So it's more like the guy that sends through the messages to the group of our drivers. So always sad to see my team not being able to compete, but a solid championship coming out from ATK Arena, that's for sure. I know that coming into this round, they've already wrapped up the Constructors Championship, so really regardless of where the likes of the ATK guys finish, they've managed to secure that championship. So a good Constructors win coming out to ATK Arena. It looks like everybody else going to be sitting back in the pits towards the front of our order as qualifying going to come to a close. Darren Piens, he's still out on track though, Ryan. He's still trying to find a little bit more. 5/10 up on his time as we hear the clock strike 0.
Yep, the clock has hit 0, which means all qualifying times that get finished now are the final ones, and anyone who has started a lap before the timer hit 0, they can indeed finish it, but of course that'll be the end of qualifying. And as it seems at the moment, Darren Peens, Quade Claessens, Mark Antel, Regard Van Coller, and I think Deploy are the only ones left. Actually, Deploy he's already crossed the line, so he's finished his qualifying session. Darren Peens coming into the bus stop chicane in the Porsche Cayman. Lovely little car, the Porsche Cayman, as it comes out of the bus stop. He's 4/10 up on his time. He'll cross the line. He'll put himself 4th, so not quite in territory to worry the top 3, but puts himself in 4th place for the start of the race. Very, very good. Now Van Coller coming out of the bus stop chicane, the number 99 BMW. How far can he put himself up the order? He's 2/10 up. He's picked up an extra 10th coming out of the bus stop. He'll go 11th. And I think now looking bigger, Grobler is going to cross the line. He'll put himself 13th in the Audi. And I think it's Mark Antel now, who's probably the last driver we have here out in qualifying, setting a valid lap. Although Quade Claessens is still on a lap, but he's 4/10 down. Mark Antel will come across the line, and he will improve slightly, but it'll stay 9th place. And of course, like I said before, Quade Claessens still out there doing a lap, but he's 3/10 of a second down, 4/10 now even. So I think that's going to bring an end to qualifying. Jordan Sherratt on pole, exactly where he needs to be, George.
It's almost like the narrative of the story starting to play out for the Sherratt fans. If they are out in the chats and looking to get that championship win stolen away from the likes of Morgan McCall, it can't be the end of the race finish like this though, Ryan. I mean, if Jordan takes the race win after this and Morgan still finishes out on 3rd, it's still Morgan's championship. So things for Morgan are going to be that high pressure like you mentioned. He needs to maintain that spot there, and I don't think it's difficult based on the pace that he has on the circuits, as Quade should close things out, call an end to the quali session. Let us get over to the actual start of the race. Of course, a 45-minute sprint race, yeah, with no mandatory pit stop requirements. So if cars bin themselves or one another, they might have to go into the pits, but no mandatory stop scheduled here. So a flat out sprint race for 45 minutes. The grand final, round 6 at Spa for Raceface's GT4 Season 1. Proudly sponsored to you by Resource Complete and Black Ribbon Sim. So big shout out to our sponsors. If you guys are looking to get involved with Raceface in any form, please head over to the Discord channel, or you can make use of the website. There's a whole bunch of ways to contact the likes of Bertus Hugo. He is the man behind Raceface, and a big shout out to him for putting on this league, letting us broadcast it to the viewers, and of course all you guys for being in the chats and supporting what we do. So yeah, I'd like to see if we can get that like counter up just a little bit. I know we don't have the hugest of viewerships all the time, but we could get some likes on the stream. That goes a long way, and we can go and show some people some numbers all the time. That's always a better way for us to be able to continue to do sim racing. So it plugs out the way. 42 seconds on the countdown before we'll go out in single file here today. Jordan Sherritt going to lead us away. Charles Wilkin in second place on the grid. Morgan McCall in third. So that top 3 is looking juicy and interesting indeed.
Yeah, definitely so. And it's so perfectly poised, isn't it, George? Jordan Sherritt, he's got pole position. Exactly what he needed to do. Morgan McCall is in the top 3 for the start of the race. He's exactly where he needs to be come the end of the race. But of course, one of these has to give. Will it be Jordan Sherritt? Will it be Morgan McCall? One of these two will win the championship. It's currently in Morgan McCall's favour, massively in his favour. But, well, motorsport and sim racing, they are two sides of the same coin, and they are both just as unpredictable as the other. And, I mean, George, we've seen some incredible real-life championships and sim racing championships come down to the wire that have been so far on one person's half of the coin, but it's gone the other way. You can't predict anything in any form of sport, whether it's esport or real sport. And just like this as well, these are community races that, like you said, hosted by Raceface here, and obviously they're mostly for people to go out and have fun, but obviously some of these guys, they're here for the championship battle. And it doesn't get any more exciting than having a championship battle where you know the leader has to finish in the top 10, and the guy who is currently runner-up has to win the race.
I mean, that's the story that I subscribe to, and as a viewer and a lover of sim racing indeed, that's what I'd like to see coming into the final round here. And of course, we don't get to talk about everybody else in the championship all the time, but everybody is out there fighting for spots and for positions. And although there's not always prize money up at the end of the day, those things will come the right way when they need to go the right way. And, the correct channels will crop up from all of this. So everybody getting themselves into the best form that they can do out on the racetrack is been a pleasure to watch throughout the season. And really 6 rounds has been too short. So looking forward to the announcements coming out from Raceface for the next seasons coming out. So season 2 for the GT4s, and that would be season 4 for the GT3s. Of course, we've got the same final coming out for the GT3s tomorrow night, same time, same place, same channel. But all the announcements will come out, and we'll see the next season calendars and the changes that the Raceface team are going to be throwing into things. So the single file formation lap in the GT4s feels like it takes an eternity out at a place like Spa for sure. Really not optimum grip levels going to be built up by the guys out on the circuit at the moment. I mean, the track temperature definitely not going to benefit any of these drivers at the end of their stints. 36 degrees on track, so a little bit on the hotter side of things. So maybe not getting as much warmth in the outlap. Not a terrible thing, Ryan.
No, definitely not. And we've spoken about it a few times this year, and it's worth repeating for anyone who isn't aware. The GT4s do not have tyre warmers on the grid, unlike the GT3s do. They go out onto their formation lap. They go out from the garage, stone cold tires. So of course the warm-up lap is so important for these GT4 cars. You need to get those tires and brakes into the ideal temperature for the start of the race. And of course it gets even more difficult when you have to line up 2x2. You're not, you don't weave as much. You can't really put all that energy into the brakes to heat them up and all sorts. So you have to really focus on putting heat into those tires if you want to get a good start to the race. And that's why you can see these guys taking their time around the formation lap. You want to use as much time as possible to get as much heat as you can into those tires. 36 degrees track temp, that'll do them nicely to help heat up the tires. But as you said, George, towards the end of the stint, these tires are going to be screaming for help. But we are just a few corners away, the bus stop chicane, and then La Source until the final round of this championship will be underway. It's Jordan Sherritt on pole, Charles Wilkins second, championship leader Morgan McCall in third. You all know the stakes, and so do we. But it's going to be so interesting in 45 minutes' time to see what the result is, George.
We are, and we have to wait just that age bit longer, of course. The driver's not starting the lap here where they end their qualifying split time, so they're going to make their way all the way down through La Source before things heat up. But 15 GT4 cars on the grid for the pro split here, and really starting to feel that excited energy building up for myself as well as the drivers here. I mean, the nerves must be going through the roof. Eau Rouge, Radio, some of the toughest corners to take side by side in GT3 cars. Not really side by side corners, in fact. You got to slot yourself in or be really brave. So final time, we're going to see these guys lurking around the track at these slow speeds. We know that the GT4s are a little bit slower than the GT3s, but the racing between them is incredible. Green lights are about to go, and they are live. Round 6 at Spa. Finals are away. Jordan Sherritt with a great lunge off of the line there ahead of Charles Wilkins. Morgan McCall also going to be tucking himself into third place. Looks like a nice clean start coming out from our 15-car grid. Sherritt with a great run out onto La Source. It's going to be McCall that is in trouble here from the likes of Darren Pearce. Darren Pearce here is going to go side by side with McCall. McCall going to have the inside line coming down into the chicane, but I think that Pearce, nope, he hasn't got around him too much. And good defense coming out there from Morgan McCall. So championship leader going to hold on to his third position spot as Krayling puts some pressure onto the likes of Pearce as well.
Darren Pearce could have easily made a move that, come the end of the race, could have decided a championship, but thought better of it. Didn't have the ideal line to go through and get that move done. Couldn't really carry the pace into the corner and had to back out. Morgan McCall will be very grateful for that, because of course that keeps him in the top 3. But the way this race is looking so far, with just half a lap gone so far, looking interesting here as De Beer is on the inside at Pouon, but he's going to push the BMW of Schutter wide, and he's going to let him back through though, and he's going to lose quite a few places in the process, George, as I think the BMW of Schutter is still off the track, and there's been contact as well between the Aston Martin. I think, was that to Blanche maybe? And
I think it was to Blanche and Ottens down towards the back. Schutter had got himself through there pretty safely. But yeah, coming 3 cars wide into Pouon for the first time in the GT4 was very brave, and definitely not ending the way that any of those drivers wanted things to go. So the likes of De Beer and Schutter now going to have to fight their way back up through the positions that they lost down. I don't think it was actually Ottens that was caught in that. He's in 11th place and clear of it. So perhaps Deploy into Blanche there, the ones that were caught out according to the timing splits. Up towards the front, Morgan McCall doing what he needs to do to just hold on to the back of Charles Wilkins. But Pearce still putting that pressure on. He's less than a second or half a second behind. He's got a whole train of cars behind. Krayling, Junior McCall, and Claessens are all there looking to get themselves into this. Claessens trying to desperately hold on to the academy driver of ATK in front, the likes of Junior McCall. And then those 2 BMWs that I mentioned earlier on, Antoine Van Coller, well, I mean, not the 2 specific ones, but the BMWs trying to muster themselves up and stay within the competitive pack towards the front. But everybody's settling down quite early on here, Ryan, it looks like, bar that little incident towards the back of the pack at the start of the race. But things looking good here for Sherritt.
Yeah, they definitely are. A 1.1 second lead as he comes, well, he's well and gone over the line now. And looking back, I think Pience is going to be under pressure fairly soon from the likes of Grayling as they come into Le Combs. Now they head towards Melbourne. And it just seems to me like, you know, Jordan Sherritt, he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He's probably going to start pulling away at the front unless Charles Wilkin can really kick it up into another gear. But I have to say, with the likes of McCall, he doesn't look significantly faster than Pience and Grayling, you know, George. And I think, you know, maybe we'll have a much better picture in the next, you know, 4 or 5 laps. But I get the feeling that the way it looks so far, with only a lap and a half down, is that Pience and Grayling have the pace to stick with McCall at the moment.
I think that's a good observation point to have. I think that McCall here hasn't really given too much of a stick out to Wilkin for second place. And he's most certainly got himself into a position where he could be opened up to from the likes of Pience and Grayling. But it will be between them to sort of settle down and make sure that they can keep that fight out towards the front. I mean, if they're caught out battling and having to go defensive all the time, they're not going to make up those orders. And the likes of Grayling, he's not looking to work with Pience here. I mean, they're not in the same team. They have absolutely no collusion to want to do this. And racing drivers on circuit are going to fight it out. So if Grayling can get past Pience, perhaps that pace then could stick it out to McCall. But this is exactly what Morgan would have wanted at this stage of the race. Early on, when your rivals are at their closest, having the guy behind you feeling the pressure from the immediate car behind him, that's going to definitely create you some space, some breathing room that you're going to need. And we can just see how tightly and closely Grayling is trying to hold on to the back of Pience here, and doing a great job indeed of doing this. And going to just go onto the splitter cam for a little bit of an onboard with Grayling.
This is a great perspective to watch the race from. You can see how close Grayling will get to the back of this Cayman here. And this is starting to put pressure on Pience now. He's starting to go defensive. He's losing time to McCall in front. And, you know, McCall in front, he's got to be careful, because if he wants to try and take Wilkin on for second place, he's got to remind himself, you know, I'm in a championship battle here. If this goes wrong and I end up in the wall, that could be championship over.
I mean, it's all about the control, right? And knowing that it's only a sprint race, so you don't have to hold it on track for over an hour. It's 45 minutes that you need to do this. And I know that Morgan's got a great support structure around him. I know that Robert McCall will be, making sure that he's given them the brief as to what they need to do. Grayling at the end of Kemmel, making the mistake out of radio, or should I say, coming into Kemmel. Lost a bit of time, but then coming down into some more of the trickier parts of the circuit, it does feel like he does find something else over the likes of the Cayman in front. So if Pience isn't careful, he's going to feel that pressure again. And you can just see when Pience is given that room to catch up to McCall, that gap just disintegrates in front. And as soon as we see Grayling hang on to the back of the number 171, I'm sure that things are going to change around once again. So it is racing out on the circuit. Maybe we can get a little rundown of some of the other positions of cars in on the circuit. So Junior McCall in 6th place, chasing down the likes of Grayling in front. Quade Claasson's just going to tuck in to 7th, settle down behind Junior there. Mark Antle holding down 8th place in his BMW, not under any pressure from Richard Frankala in 9th place. He leads a little pack of cars behind him, though, not quite feeling the pressure from Ryan Ottens in 10th place just yet. And Sean Schutter from EKZ is closing down in 11th place. Adrian De Beer, after being caught out in that early incident with Schutter, still trying to chip away and see if he can catch up to where he started out the race. Down behind them is Bego Krobler from Team Tryhard Racing, powered by Resource Complete, also one of our stream sponsors. Not planned at all, but of course 13th place there for Bego Krobler in his Audi. To Blanche and Deploy, they were the biggest losers out of Puan on that first lap, and now they lick their wounds down in 14th and 15th place. So still, perhaps things can change up for them. You know, racing is never over till it's over, and 37 minutes at Spa means that anything can change up at any moment. as we go back to the likes of, I want to follow along with Piens and Kraling, because they're now side by side coming in to Eau Rouge. Will they stay side by side coming through? And a big contact has happened as Piens has been shot into the wall, manages to keep it out of the pit exit wall, but it would have lost all the speed coming down. Kraling's lost out too, and Kraling, I mean, that was a rough attempt from the drivers to go side by side through Eau Rouge, Ryan.
Yeah, you don't usually see moves like that stay clean, and unfortunately, that's exactly what we saw right there. You got to be brave to put a move on, through a Rouge, and I think, looking at it, it's some of these incidents are a bit hard to judge, aren't they? With with a Rouge, it's how much do you give in a corner like that? I mean, usually the standard etiquette is if you're side by side and you're on the inside line, you're entitled to the position, but Eau Rouge Radion, it's kind of a bit of a weird combination, isn't it, George? There isn't really an inside line to that, that sequence of corners.
It's exactly that. It's almost the guy furthest away from the pit wall is the entry point to the corner, and then you kind of come across to that right apex, but if there's a car there, you won't be able to do that, and it's going to force you to stick out very wide towards that cut side of the track. And I think both cars trying to occupy the same part of track at the same time, as that's just shifted up that order now, because just look at how it's changed things, right? Junior McCall now, Morgan's teammate, his younger brother, now into 4th place. Quade Claessens from the ATK main racing team up into 5th place. So you've got ATK's academy in 3rd and 4th, and then their main team driver Quade in 5th place now, all between the likes of Kraling and Piens, who previously were the potential upsets in the story if they could put some pressure onto McCall. So, I don't expect that Junior is going to be the driver putting pressure onto his brother for a position in the championship when they're racing for the same team. Team orders there would now be, make sure that any cars that are going to come up behind you, if they are faster than you, give them a hard time getting past.
It would be the biggest power move in sim racing history, wouldn't it, if Morgan McCall's brother, Junior McCall, denied him a championship win. But no, like
denies him the championship win. Lets Jordan Sherritt take it because he's got the pole and is currently leading. I mean, it would be a massive upstate coming down. We see Sean Schutter going to be awarded a drive-through penalty, so the EKZ BMW then going to be reset quite far down the order. And like we said, for Blanche and Blois, who were upset early on and down the field a little bit, well, seeing a drive-through penalty for them is going to be a big point changer. So again, it's that narrative of the race is never over till it's over, and just like that, in a couple of laps, things have changed up entirely. And as they stand, if the race were to end, Morgan McCall is our GT4 Season 1 champion. So just bear that in mind. Sherritt, although he leads, he needs McCall to finish lower than on the podium.
It's not just as simple as driving to the end of the race, though, is it, George? You and I know that far too well after all the races that we've, casted on and even driven in, ourselves. It's never over till it's over, and it sounds,
just
it's cliche, but it is.
On that exact point, I mean, Kraling's got past the likes of Claessens there, so just before Puan, it looked like Kraling in that BMW going to slot past that gatekeeping defensive position from Claessens. So an interesting little battle evolving here between 5th, 6th, and 7th place. Of course, Piens going to be driving around in a marginally damaged Cayman. We saw it most certainly make contact and good mates with the wall between Eau Rouge and Radior. And right now, Quade Claessens doesn't look like he wants to let Kraling have this easy. And this is going to all hamper Kraling getting up to the likes of Junior ahead. So the number 16 BMW going to be on the defensive from the number 1, 2, 4 ATK Aston Martin. So Retro Sim doing what they can to try and make this championship fight as exciting as possible. Now, I won't lie, I would like to see someone getting up and giving Morgan a bit of a fight out there, because that really would get things exciting. But look at Piens, where the damage came in, holding on to the back of Claessens. He's still in this. You know, he seems to have dialed in whatever damage has been done.
I was going to say, that was a fairly hefty shunt on the front of that Cayman when he hit the wall on the inside of Radion, and I mean, it doesn't look like it slowed him down at all. He's going to be pressuring the likes of Quaid Claessens as Schutter has gone for his drive-through.
I mean, it's exactly that. It's now trying to make sure that any of these other drivers also don't pick up those...
Quaid Claessens, sorry George, Quaid Claessens had a bit of a half spin through Lecombs. I'm not entirely sure if the broadcast caught that, but yeah, Quaid Claessens had a bit of a moment coming through Lecombe. I think he took too much of the inside curb, and you know, these GT4 cars, they can ride the curbs very, very well, but you see that green Astro kind of on the inside of some of these corners. There's very little grip on that part of the track, and obviously even with these GT4 cars, it can unsettle the car.
Indeed it can, and Quaid Claessens finding some of those struggles out on track at the moment, so we will see Schutter clearing that drive-through, but just look at how much time he's lost out to the likes of Blanche and Deploy. So a drive-through penalty to any of these drivers on circuit battling out could be absolutely devastating in their championship fight. So, and then another sort of factor to bear in mind, that if Morgan does get served with any of those track exceeding limit penalties and has to go into the pits, that will change things up here. So it's not just the driving pressure coming out from the other competitors on the circuit. There's those influences and factors that could change things up as well. But this is a great little battle coming down, as Grayling really does seem to be finding something. I mean, he's gotten past Claessens. He's now putting pressure onto the likes of Junior McCall. I think Claessens either was struggling to keep up with McCall, or was just happy to just sort of sit behind him through the early phases. But, you know, with seeing Grayling now putting on the pressure, you know, getting onto that loud pedal, I think it's opened up a little bit of some heat inside Quaid Claessens' heart, and he wants to put as much pressure onto the Retro Sim team as he can. He doesn't want to just let Grayling run through and start to put pressure onto the other teammates. And of course, anywhere near the likes of Morgan is going to be danger zone based on the pace that Grayling seems to be finding here. Still, based on their best laps out at the moment, Grayling not quite matching up to the 131.8 that Morgan has got himself. At 232.145 is where Grayling sits. But I suspect, Ryan, that's probably got something to do with some of the battles that Grayling has been having on track.
It definitely does, and Piens is having a look at Quaid Claessens coming into Lecombs, but he might have just opened himself up to Antle behind. But no, he does manage to keep the BMW of Antle at bay for the moment. And yeah, just to talk on that point there, George. You know, you said about, you know, Grayling maybe a bit compromised because of the defending he's had to do against Claessens, or the fact that he's behind Junior McCall. You know, that can play such a big part. And, you know, if he can clear Junior McCall, quite interested to see what kind of lap times he can put down. Of course, Morgan McCall did a 32.8 on the last lap. Johannes Grayling did a 33.3, but, you know, half a second in that can easily be made up if you can dispatch a car in head and not worry about some of the cars behind you. You can easily find that time. So it's going to be interesting to see how Grayling does. He's under a second behind Junior McCall, and he has to make his way past that Mercedes if he's going to have any chance of being an upset in the championship here this evening. So we are about 17 minutes, just over 17 minutes into the race. 27 and a half to go. Darren Piens here in 7th place at the moment in that recovering Cayman. He's got a lot of work to do, but he's doing a phenomenal job considering the damage on the back of that car. But there is a battle starting to develop now between Johannes Grayling and the likes of Junior McCall. In fact, Grayling on the back of McCall now, as you can see here as they come through La Source, and now on the run down towards Eau Rouge. The BMW and the Mercedes, two of the quickest cars in a straight line in the GT4 class. And now as they go through Eau Rouge and come up over Radion, is Grayling going to be able to carry the pace? Can he carry it all the way through? They'll go through the kink at Kemmel onto the straight. Now the run down towards Lecombe, so long, even in a GT3 car, longer in a GT4. But Grayling's just not quite going to have the pace to compete with that Mercedes towards the end of the braking zone. But it seems to be in the middle sectors and towards the end of the lap that the BMW does seem to come alive. And I think that's where Grayling's probably going to hope he can get a move done on the Mercedes of Junior McCall.
Yeah, it looks like, you know, Junior just has that car advantage. We've seen how strong the Mercedes can be, right? And it does just have the legs on it to hold out. Even in the slightest of errors that you might have on the exit, it does make up for it over the BMW. And it really does come out from a flawless drive, it feels like, needed from Grayling. He's done a good job so far, and he needs to continue with that pace. I mean, 25 minutes, plenty of time for him to still get these moves done, get himself up through it. So I think we will see a post-race inquiry from the stewards based on some of those incidents coming through. I think we have to just bear that in mind, that post-race stewarding will take place. So we did see Grayling and Pience having that altercation coming through. So if he can get himself up into the order, that's just going to be absolutely massive for Retro. And for us as spectators and commentators, we want to see that championship fight go out to the wire. We want to see someone take it up to Morgan McCall. We know it's not going to be Junior. Junior has absolutely no leg in the race in fighting with his brother for those positions on track. So if Grayling can get past Junior, that is going to open up a whole new potential chapter here, Ryan.
Yeah, definitely. So what a story it would be for BMW in terms of, you know, BMW, the M4, we've bashed on it all season long, and even before that, when we were in the RCI Championship, George, that we commentated on for GT4, we bashed on this car so hard throughout the whole season, saying how performing it was, and how it was overrated and all that. What a story it would be if the BMW was one of the cars that decided the outcome of this championship. And like you said, there's post-race investigations to still happen. But no one wants to see a championship decided on a penalty post-race. We want to see it done on track, live on cameras. And I hope we do get to see that as we come out onto the Campbell Straight again. And Grayling is going to be closing up on to McCall, but I think he's going to run out of straight before he gets a good chance to dive up the inside of McCall, and that is going to be the case. But that BMW getting ever closer to the Mercedes.
Pushing those braking points, he slowly starts to put the pressure onto Junior. You see Junior does get a little bit loose coming out through some of the exits of the corners when he does feel some of that pressure coming down. Ruxell's such a tight right-hander with that off-camber vibe. Difficult corner to have an inside line to if you make a mistake. So trying to force someone out wide through their potential overtaking maneuver from Grayling down the cards, or down the line, should I say. And you know, Grayling doing a good job to now get himself out of that danger zone from Claessen's behind him. You know, he needed to make sure that he got past and then let himself get a couple of car lengths to stop getting onto the defensive and start getting onto the offensive for the likes of Junior. And this is exactly the type of driving we needed to see. I think you mentioning us ragging on the BMW, perfect example of where I'd like to be proven wrong, is in a situation like this where BMW can potentially get up there. And I feel like I'm even segregating it by calling it a BMW. You can get up there, but you know, Johannes Grayling really has seemed to find something special out of it compared to his other co-competitors in the car. And now on the run down to the, I mean, this is exactly what Grayling needs. He needs to get in, but you see him having to just lift off ever so slightly. He doesn't want to get into a position where he causes an incident. You know, that would be catastrophic, and would throw away all the hard work that he's put into it, coming down to it. So it needs to try and keep his nose clean, needs to wait for Junior to make that mistake. And the ride along with Kraling has definitely been an interesting story to watch so far, because all the drivers behind are doing just what they need to do. So if Kraling and Junior now get into, you know, that battle out position that we've seen, they can't get the move done quick enough, and suddenly Kraling's caught up behind Junior, then Claessens is there to pounce on, and Piens is right there as well. So, you know, all the drivers putting themselves in a position to win it if they can. And I mean, I don't mean win it and as in win it, but, you know, a personal gain is a personal gain. And now that run through down Radior looking a lot better for Kraling, as he's a lot closer to the likes of Junior coming down onto Kemmel. But again, Ryan, he's not going to be in a position where he's going to be able to make that move where he seems to be so much faster.
Yeah, it's just, you know, running out of time, isn't he, Johannes Kraling? Realistically, if he's going to challenge for a top 3 this race, 21 minutes to go or just over, he's got to make this move this lap or next lap. It's 8 seconds up the road to Morgan McCall. He can't hang around too much longer if he realistically wants to get a podium in this race, or, you know, to show the pace that he could potentially have to make a championship upset. And I think that's what Junior McCall knows. He knows that, you know, if Kraling wants this podium, and if he wants it that bad, he's going to have to get the move done sooner rather than later, and it's going to have to be sooner. Because, I mean, even looking at the time now, I kind of get the feeling that unless Johannes Kraling is going to be a second a lap faster than McCall, I think he's got to get it done this time round towards the bus stop chicane, or I don't think it's going to happen, George.
Sucks for us to not be able to see what Kraling's true pace outside of traffic will actually be like, because right now it's impossible, looking at the timing sheets, to think that Kraling could potentially catch up to McCall. But it all could change up if he does get that move done onto Junior, does manage to get into that free air. We might be able to see what he's able to do without having to defend permanently against Quaid or look for a move past on to the likes of Junior. I mean, riding on his onboards, we've seen how much lifting he's had to do. And is he going to go for a little switchback here, go and try around the outside of the bus stop chicane? Will become the inside line, but Junior, has he made a big mistake coming through here? It looks like he's caught Kraling up, and exactly what Junior needed to do. Gets his car parked in the right place, stops Kraling having any opportunity to have a move done. And just look at the bunch up effect that it's had there. It's left Antel and Piens now going side by side, coming up to Lasource. Inside line going to be there for the Cayman. Will Antel try around the outside here? Going to not be able to get it done. Going to have to tuck back in. And we're going to see another train going down through Eau Rouge and Radio. And once again, still led off by this man, Junior McCall. What a great drive coming out from the ATK Academy driver. Youngster indeed. A little bit loose coming out from the exit of Radio. This could be the move, Ryan, that we wanted to see. Kraling now side by side alongside with Junior McCall. He's going to be on the outside coming down into the chicane, but will he get a car's length ahead to get the move done? We've seen him later on the brakes. He has got it done, and this is what we needed to see. So Kraling will nap that position off of Junior McCall. Junior McCall still potentially could get something back. He's still in that position to do so, but just look at Kraling starting to fly. I mean, we said this is the sector that he does have the legs over the Mercedes, and this is exactly what he's trying to show us.
Claessens and Piens. There's been contact between Claessens and Piens behind, and Piens has been, he got spun around. It was at Bruxelles coming down into the braking zone.
I'm going to try and get us a replay here for you, Ryan.
Yeah, you can see it now here on screen. This is going to be a great camera angle watching. So you can see Piens is obviously behind. He's pressuring Claessens. He's coming down towards Bruxelles. We talked how difficult and tight this is. He goes to the inside line and just doesn't have enough on the inside. He gets a bit of a touch, and then, of course, he's half spun. He's tapped by Antel behind. And, well, that's all she wrote, I think, for Piens for this race. I think, you know, not really going to have much more damage on that car, but that's definitely blown a significant chance that he had to challenge Quay Claessens for 6th place. And I think Antel has given the position back to him. But, yeah, for Piens, a race that was going well went worse, and now it's got just a bit worse.
Oh, great sportsmanship there from Ansel to give that position back. Not much that he could do into Bruxelles with the sideways Cayman parked into the apex. So, I think that's a good bit of sportsmanship coming out. I think, like you mentioned, for Pience, though, not a great race coming out for him. He's had the contact there that's going to really start to impact his championship fight up in this final round. Quade Claessens, he now doesn't have that pressure of Pience or Antel behind him, so he's got a bit of a buffer to try and chase down the likes of Junior. But it looks like Kreling starting to check out from the likes of the ATK guys here, and this is that gap that we said we wanted to see up to the likes of Morgan McCall, and we haven't really got a little shot out at our race leaders and things for the moment. So let's just get a little recap for everybody at our 16-minute mark. Jordan Sherritt leading things away for Raceface Speed Labs and the GT4 esports team in his number 137 Mercedes. And of course, then Charles Wilkin just hanging on, sitting in second place, the number 25 Aston Martin. Doing a great job, not really featuring too much in the stream, but these guys up the front really haven't had too much to do. And then Morgan McCall just holding off in third place. And he does have that significant 10-second gap out to Kreling at this point. So if Kreling wants to get anything done, he's going to have to start to eat at that and eat at it fast, or hope that a mistake comes out from Morgan McCall.
Yeah, 10-second gap, 16 minutes remaining. It would be a massive effort to take that back. And, I mean, he's going to have to catch up more than a second a lap if he's going to do it just on pure pace. I don't see it happening. Like you said, George, it needs to be a mistake. But McCall's just kind of, Morgan McCall, he's kind of just on his own, isn't he? 4.1 seconds back from Charles Wilkin, 10 seconds clear from Johannes Grayling. The top three kind of just in their own little bubble at the moment.
They really are, and it's all this sort of 4th, 5th, 6th that we saw earlier on. They've also sort of spaced themselves out at this stage of the race as well. So with 15 minutes to go, Grayling really needs to find that pace that we said when he gets that free air. At the moment, he's not rivaling the lap times from Morgan McCall, and as you mentioned, 10 seconds up the road, 15 minutes to go in the race, with lap times that are taking 2 minutes, 30 odd. It is now that stage where, if Morgan doesn't make that mistake, he has everything to lose at this stage. He's going to be crowned our Season 1 GT4 champion. So for him, I'm sure the nerves are starting to build up, that excitement too. I know it's not over till it's over, but, you can't help but think that in his mind...
Darren Pience has had a mistake coming into the bus stop chicane. George, he flew straight over one of the anti-cut curbs coming into the bus stop chicane.
I'll try and catch a little cheeky replay of Pience's. We said they come in threes. This could be the third strike for Pience, and hopefully his good luck then comes through. But I'm going to ride along here in the replay as he comes down, tries for a little inside line. Like you said, big drift out, and somehow manages to keep it off the wall, snake his way around the barriers, but will then lose out those two positions anyway. So Pience here, not having the greatest of races, and it's really not been his story to tell so far. But for the likes of Morgan McCall, he's playing this absolutely perfectly as a championship leader, knowing that he just needs a podium finish. Even if Sherritt wins, gets pole, he'll then win the championship. I mean, he's done everything right so far.
Yeah, he has. I mean, both of these guys, Jordan Sherritt and Morgan McCall, they've both done exactly what they needed to do to give themselves that chance of winning the championship and solidify. I mean, Jordan Sherritt, if McCall finishes in third place, which is looking likely right now, he'll go away knowing, well, look, I didn't win the championship, it sucks. And, when you're in for a championship battle, it doesn't matter how big or small the championship is. You're always gonna think, I missed my chance because you didn't win it. But the one thing you can take away is that, if you push it to the final race, if you've pushed the guy that won the championship to the limit, and, and it's won by a couple of points, it's great competitiveness because, you've both pulled out everything possible to get the most over each other. And I think that's where kind of the true competitive spirit of racing lies. But, you know, I'm sure Jordan Sherritt probably won't be thinking that in 13 minutes time if he doesn't win the championship.
No, I mean, that's exactly it, right? He's done everything that he needs to do in the situation, and Morgan's done everything that he needs to do in the situation. So as it comes down to it, I mean, the fights out on the circuit are not for the championship fight at the moment, because Grayling hasn't been able to put any of that pressure onto that third place from McCall. But Junior McCall here in fifth is still slogging it out with Quade Claessens, and the two of them continue to give some good racing out on circuit. Quade not yet finding that way past Junior, as we saw Grayling find. But again, teammates, you're not putting that same pressure onto someone like you would, and you're trying to have a good race out on the circuit. The two BMWs of Ansel and Van Coller, they're also having a good little scrap out. They're going to follow each other down into Eau Rouge and Radior. So trying to put that BMW manufacturer name up on the map. We see Darren Behrens' Cayman behind them, slightly damaged with some active aero going down after making couple of some errors on his side, some unfortunate racing incidents as well. But that's the way it works, and for Behrens to still be holding on, to still be within the top 10, I think for him, knowing the way that the race has gone, if all of those incidents hadn't have happened, they would have been up towards the front of the order, not challenging maybe Sherritt and Wilkin, but most certainly keeping that pressure onto McCall.
Yeah, when it's not your day, it's not your day, and obviously it's not been Bean's day today, has it? But still driving incredibly well to have that Cayman, going as quick as it is, even with the damage. Obviously, these cars not as sensitive to damage as the GT3s. They're a lot less aero dependent than the GT3 cars, but obviously, if you throw them in the wall enough times, they will slow down. And if you hit them hard enough, they will eventually conk out. But Pete's, he's still doing well, hanging on to Van Coller. And he'll have to see if he can potentially make up another position. Currently looking at Quade Claessens, and he's got past McCall, hasn't he?
It looks like he has gotten past Junior, and I think that in that process there, again, it was just waiting for Junior to perhaps make that small mistake that Quade needed. So good finishing position potentially on the cards here for Quade. Waited patiently out and has paid off in the likes of Quade getting through. I think that that gap, it gets nudged down by 0.3 lap after lap, and it's just not enough, is it, for Morgan McCall here to feel that pressure. So we need to see this man keeping that car between the lines. He does not want to get a drive-through penalty. If he sees it out in these conditions all the way to that checkered flag, he's gonna be crowned the champion. So, I feel a little bit of excitement for him already. But with 9 minutes to go, that's probably not what I should be feeling, because it could all change up. Sherritt here still keeping those lap times where he wants to have them. His best lap of the race so far, 1:30.681. Almost a second and 1.4 seconds faster than the quickest second lap, as far as I can see. But just having phenomenal pace out there. He's built up a 10-second gap to second place, and that's really sort of the narrative we started to see with Jordan Sherritt entering into these events. He's just got something special about him, and he really does throw it time and time again.
Yeah, Jordan Sherritt, impressively quick, isn't he? And of course, he's he's one of the Raceface Speed Labs coaches, isn't he? So seeing performance like this, I mean, this is the best way of advertising your coaching classes, isn't it, George? Just go out and dominate a race. 10.5 second lead over Charles Wilkin at the moment, and I love that. I can rely on you to also help me with my plugs. And you're right. I mean, the Raceface Speed Labs, a great little coaching service coming out, and the ability to get some tips and tricks from the minds of Jordan Sherritt and Bruno Cadilli. So, sessions out there. There's group sessions available. There's often
the open sessions that get hosted for guys to come and get a little experience without having to cough up the dough, so to speak. And you know what, that dough that you do cough up for those special coaching sessions, I think, feedback that I've received on it from people that have gone through and what I've seen, they've really loved it. They've found something special. So, it's not for everybody, but it is a service that's available. And of course, Jordan Sherritt showing us why you should come to him for coaching. And, lap after lap, you just find some more time. 11.6 seconds now ahead of Charles Wilkin.
Maybe we should do a behind the scenes, George, of what it's like to get driver coaching from someone like Jordan Sherritt, or what it's like to be on the other end, what it's like for Jordan Sherritt giving out driver coaching. Maybe that'd be an interesting avenue to explore at some point in the future. But the avenue we're exploring right now is Van Coller versus Peens for 8th place. And Peens, with the heavily damaged Cayman, as we've already mentioned multiple times throughout the race, is still putting pressure onto this BMW. And I'm not entirely sure if that's just down to the fact that Peens is an absolute demon in that car, or if it's just down to the fact that the BMW is unimpressive again.
I think that Van Coller here in this situation has obviously made some mistakes that we didn't see on camera. He was right on the back of Antel, putting pressure onto him. So I think that Peens has been awarded a little bit of something in this, but most certainly does go to show that even though a Porsche Cayman GT4 can be slung into the wall a couple of times, can still be competitive out on track. And I think that goes to show along a lot of the way that the GT4 aero is sort of structured around, not as finicky as the GT3s, and the cars can still stay out on track. But again, you got to wonder what he would be able to do not having had the bad luck that Darren Peens had. I think things would have been a completely different story as well. But for now, we can only talk about what is happening at the moment. And Van Coller, although was feeling that pressure, I think was perhaps just recovering from a bit of an incident, because he has given himself a little bit of padding from the constant assault of that number 171 Cayman that permanently seems to feature up in the different battles that we switch between.
Keeping an eye on the likes of Quade Claessens and Junior McCall. Of course, this battle at the moment going on track. Both of these guys are ATK drivers. And, of course, the priority here, as you are technically teammates, is don't hit each other. But, of course, we all know, George, being a teammate doesn't really mean that much in the general sense of motorsport. When you talk about your teammate, you mean
your biggest rival? Your
teammate, you often refer to them as, they're the person I've got to beat first, and they're also the last person I should ever hit on the track.
Those two combinations are the way that you definitely approach it, and having your teammates in a race is always going to be a purpose of proving to your team why you should be given your number one spot, or you should be the preferred driver going into events where there's limited slots available. So, wherever you are on circuit, you're trying to better your results. And at this stage, it does feel like Quade has got that sort of run on Junior. Junior getting into some potential pressure points onto the likes of Claessens, but not able to hold on to them through the important parts of the circuit. And, Ryan, it's again, I feel a little bit saddened that we didn't get to see that pressure getting amassed onto the likes of Morgan McCall as our championship leader. The 888 has just had such a good season out here and really does deserve a championship win at the end of the day. But coming into the final round, it was just, those potentials for things to change up. Jordan needing pole position, which he got. Jordan needing to win the race, which it looks like he's going to do with a 12.5 second gap. And Morgan finishing outside of the top 3 would have changed up the way that the championship was going to end. But Morgan here holding on to 3rd place. Just spanner in the works, that plan out the window. And with 3 minutes left to go on the clock, it's like a lap and a bit. 2 laps to go, really, for Jordan. Where is he on the circuit at the moment? It's probably going to be the end of this or the end of this lap, and then 1 lap further. So, second last lap coming out here. and it does not look like Morgan McCall is in a position for Grayling to be rivaling him for the third place spot, and that's exactly what he wants.
Yeah, I'll go back to a quote from Jenson Button, actually, former Formula One driver and F1 champion. He said, "Talented people win championships. People with luck win championships, but you need to have a bit of both." And he said, just having luck is not enough. And that's something that Morgan McCall proves, is that, he's had luck at times this season. He's also very talented as a driver, and he's combined those two elements together, and he's put forward a championship battle. You don't, people always say with certain elements in sport, oh, they won a title because they were lucky. Well, yeah, of course, that can play a part, but you don't win a title entirely on luck. And anyone who wins a championship, deserves it, because they've put in the hard work, they've put in, the most effort. And that's going to be the case here for Morgan McCall in the next, half a lap, as it looks at the moment. Unless he makes a massive mistake now, it's definitely going to be going his way. Jordan Sherratt, he's done everything he's needed to do tonight, got pole position, is most likely going to win the race unless he has a failure of some sort within the next half a lap. I'm not trying to jinx him in any way.
It's not at all. It's Jordan's race to win.
Happened.
And we've seen people run out of fuel down to the line and manage to coast across, but then lose out 10 positions in doing so. So, coming down 50 seconds on the clock, this is going to be our final lap, I believe, and Jordan Sherratt going to be leading us through our 6th round here at Spa. And what a GT4 season it has been, and Jordan just been up there dominating with finding those podium positions where he needs to. Hasn't had the same consistency that Morgan has brought out to the table. Hasn't been able to compete in the same number of rounds for points, and that's the way that the cookie crumbles, I'm afraid. The Raceface Speed Labs GTWR Esports Mercedes-Benz, the number 137 now, will be approaching the bus stop chicane for the final time round. Blanchimore, the final time in the season, and he's already flashing the lights, Ryan.
He already knows, doesn't he? He already knows. And Jordan Sherratt, well, he's going to come home. He's going to win the final race of the Raceface.Pro GT4 Championship. And it's been an absolutely incredible drive from the Raceface Speed Labs driver. But it's just not quite going to be enough, it seems, to clinch the championship. Charles Wilkin will come home for 2nd place, but this man right here, Morgan McCall, he is going to be your GT4 champion for the Pro Split here at Raceface. The 80k driver, thoroughly deserved. And as you said, George, he's been definitely deserving of this championship. One of the best drivers across the whole championship. And it's a race that he controlled the pace on today. He didn't need to go out and push for anything more than 3rd place, and he brought it home nice and composed. It's the kind of attitude you would expect from someone who will win a world championship.
So a little celebratory donut session going on between the brothers as they'll jump themselves back to the pit lane and allow us to get ourselves back over, hopefully, to a regular camera angle again as we finish up with our dronage. Let me pull up the final timetables as well, so we can see Sherratt, McCall, Grayling. Obviously, the likes of Wilkin has jumped out of the server already. But final orders and running orders still to be determined. Obviously, we're going to have some post-race stewarding inquiries, I'm sure, going through. So results, are available to change, but I don't think anything on circuit is going to have affected the finishing of the championship at all, though, Ryan. So I think with that said and done, it's time to get some driver interviews going down. We do have our top 3 hopefully getting themselves ready. Some celebratory donuts still being caught in the background of the stream, so I'm very excited to be ending off the season. And Jordan is here with us ready, so let's pull Mr. Jordan Sherratt into the comms box. And Jordan, hey, welcome to you. You're currently muted at the moment, so hopefully you're ready to chat to us. Are you there? Jordan potentially not on push to talk, or is on push to talk, but not getting voice comms out of Jordan at the moment. Oh, there we go.
I'm here. Sorry.
We got you. We got you. You're back. Okay, super.
Awesome.
So, Jordan, massive congratulations on a round that you really needed everything to go the way that it did. I mean, you got the pole position in the qualifying for the bonus 2 points. You got the race win. All you needed in that was for the likes of Morgan McCall not to finish in the top 3. And what did he do? 3rd place.
Yeah, but I mean, all credit to him. He was consistent throughout the series. I had a bit of bad luck throughout the series, so obviously inhibited me of potentially beating Morgs, but congrats to him. And yeah, it was an awesome race. I actually love this track. It's one of my favorites. So yeah, especially in GT4s, it's so much fun. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the race.
No, you had great pace out there, Jordan. I mean, there was no one challenging you up there at the front. I mean, Charles Wilkin had a good 2nd place race, but again, both you playing a bit of hot lap simulator, the gap that you got towards the end, it was really a phenomenal performance out there. And as always, it's a joy to broadcast and watch you drive out on circuit. You find something special, and it's magical to watch.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thanks.
Really a pleasure, Jordan. Thanks so much for joining us, and congratulations on another win. I'm going to drag you out here and bring Charles Wilkin in to have a little chat with us as well.
Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers, Jordan. Charles Wilkin, our 2nd place finisher. Charles, hopefully you're ready for a driver's interview. I've dragged you in here. Can you hear me loud and clear? Once again, potentially not ready with Charles here in 2nd place. Until I get confirmation that Charles back here. Charles, if you get back, just pop me a DM. Might not hear me, but let me try and see if I can get Morgan in here. Morgan was here for a little bit. He's jumped down to the other interview room. So let me see if I can drag him up here quickly. Let's see where Morgan is. Morgan, there he is. Can I get him up here? Struggling to drag him up into the booth. He's ready. He's not ready. So guys, I don't know if we're going to have a final round interview with our race champion. Oh, we are. Morgan is here. Perfect. Okay, so Morgan,
Hello.
Morgan is here. Okay, so our GT4 Raceface Season 1 champion, Morgan McCall from ATK. Morgan, how does it feel?
Hello. It feels good, even though I didn't get enough practice. Hey, just go away with that thing. That thing is sorry. It was nice. It was nice. It felt good. I didn't even know I was winning the championship in that position, because I don't know. I didn't practice that much for this last round, but I'm happy I came a solid 3rd place and I sealed the championship.
Yeah, I mean, Morgan, you did absolutely everything that you needed to do towards the end. I mean, even if you didn't get the practice in, holding on to a 3rd place spot, as far as I'm concerned, gets you up into the championship standings. So a massive congratulations on your victory. And, it doesn't matter if you didn't win the race here. It was all about the consistency at the end of the day. And I think that's really where you stood out from everybody else, was the consistency side.
Yeah, I think this race I wasn't looking to win. I think at the start of the race I already set my mind to conservative racing and just hold my spot, hold my position, and win the championship. That's all.
No, you did a great job. So Morgan, massive congratulations to you, and of course massive congratulations to ATK. Guys won the drivers side of things as well as the constructors championship. So good performance from all the drivers there. So send over our Congratulations indeed. And I'm going to pull Charles Wilkin in here for a little driver's interview as well.
Okay, thank you, G.
Thanks, Morgs. Have a good one.
Okay.
Okay, our second attempt here with Charles Wilkin. Charles, can you hear me this time round? We might, again, Charles was having some mic issues. He might still have some mic issues. I might have pulled him in with him telling me that his mic was playing up and it hasn't been sorted out. So that could potentially be my bad, guys. Charles, if you do manage to come through in the closing phases while I'm wrapping things up, be free to just holler with your voice. But Ryan, I think that's us done and dusted for the GT4 Championship. I think our driver interviews are completed. Are there any final closing thoughts that you'd like to see before I wrap things up? Sorry, not see.
Well, I'll see and say, and all I have to say, George, is thank you to Bertus and Raceface, and obviously yourself for having me here. It's been absolutely incredible to come over and watch some of the South African racing. I did enjoy it last time with the GT3s, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it here with the GT4s as well. So, I'd come back anytime, and of course, massive shout out to the guys watching here tonight. The support that you guys give to Raceface, it really does mean a lot. Even if a lot of the guys on the surface, you think, does one like really make that much of a difference? It makes so much of a difference, and so does that one extra view, that one extra subscription. Makes a world of difference to supporting Raceface. And yeah, just a little plug from me for the Raceface channel is that definitely support this if you don't already, because fantastic group of guys here, some good racing as well. And there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to get races broadcast and races organized. I would know from plenty of experience. So yeah, it's a massive shout out to the work going on here, and of course, thank you very much for having me, George. I think that's all I've got to say regarding the season. It's been absolutely fantastic to join you.
Ryan, I could not thank you anymore, and I think, like you said, you've touched on some good things. I like what Raceface is doing out the side of the world, and I like that we can incorporate some cool international commentators like yourself. We get some international drivers coming through, and just grow the world of sim racing. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 8:30 South African time, for the GT3 final round here at Spa. That one should be a cracker. An hour and 20 minutes is going to be a good endurance race. Mandatory pit stop, so completely different to what we've got for the GT4s. But same time, same place. Thanks again, guys. We will see you tomorrow.